Hey, my name's Ian, and I'm an artist. A concept artist, to be more accurate. Most of you probably know what that is, but if not, I can show you. Before the AI overlords took over, it was a person who helped others visualize and express their ideas through art. Maybe they asked you to design a happy island paradise, or an infected astronaut creeping through a derelict space station, some alien assassins, or a high warlord torrent decapitating a night elf warrior. All those projects aside, I've always been drawn to fantasy and my own personal world building. But before we get into that, we should probably talk a little bit about me and how this all started. I'm a millennial, and like most millennials, I was brought up in the golden age of video games, the Toonami era of anime, and all that other 90s goodness. I grew up collecting action figures, trading Pokemon on link cables, playing N64, going to arcades, and of course, drawing. When it came to video games, I was always partial to RPG, fighting, and comfy stuff. All the stuff, like most other people, was hugely influential to me, and more specifically my art. Most of my projects can be traced back to things I liked as a kid. Even now, I'm interested in all the same things, constantly being inspired by video games, anime, movies, cartoons, and everything else I never stopped enjoying from my childhood. Speaking of childhood, I guess we should start from there. Here I am. Oops, before the mistakes. That's better. My mom always said I was born an artist, with a pen in my hand. Like I said earlier, I only did three things growing up: played with action figures, drew, and played video games. Then again, some things never change. Even as a kid, I was constantly creating and explaining my projects to my mom. Shout out to her for always supporting me, no matter how unhinged my rants were.
Mm-hmm.
You tried going Super Saiyan in the kitchen when you were 7. And from that point on, I started saving every scrap of paper I drew on. And as I got older, my stories got more complex, and the rest is history. I grew up and continued to annoy my mom and brother with the fantasy worlds I created and the kingdoms and monsters that inhabited them.
Huh?
I kept drawing, day in and day out, year after year, my artwork filling up sketchbooks, tubs of paper, old hard drives, and computers. There was just one issue. No one ever saw it. Then it hit me. Why not just post it online? It's the internet. What's the worst that could happen? And that leads us here. This channel is dedicated to the mass amounts of work that I've had piled up for decades. Just a little creative space for some things I thought were interesting could be shared with other like-minded people, artists, and general creatives. I make all sorts of things, from rough concepts to fully fleshed out ideas, tabletop and card games, to animations, rudimentary video game designs, 3D sculpts, and more. Each video will be focused on a singular project I've worked on or am working on, some more detailed than others, each of them just a little self-contained story. Some will be from my archives, and even from when I was a kid, others brand new. These are a few projects I have lined up for the near future, with a truly absurd amount behind those. A story concept about a forest sprite that must brave the wilds to restore its destroyed village. A single-player tabletop pen and paper RPG I've been recently fleshing out, based on the monster battler trend at the turn of the millennium. And finally, a 32-bit retro-inspired kaiju battler game where two giant monsters are pitted against each other. Again, this is just a place to catalog some of my work and maybe inspire others to do the same and release their projects to the world. I'm a man of many hats, and I appreciate you stopping by, and hope you might stick around to see the other things I have coming up in the near future. Thanks again.